Today we got a Star Wars talent tree review and guide from the newest newish-ist book, Rise of the Separatists. So the Scavenger specialization is a universal specialization, and it is meant to bring to life someone who would work as a scavenger. Let's try that again, but less stupid. Someone who's taking advantage of the war between the Republic and the Confederates. Confederacy? Something? The robots. The clones and the robots. Someone's got to clean up the mess for profit, right? Why not? So that's where the Scavenger comes into play. It is a universal spec, so you can't pick it as a starting specialization unless you use my house rule, basically, which is you can. But also, because it's not attached to any career, anyone can buy it without paying the extra penalty. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of it. We have this little lightning bolt zigzag section that's structurally separate from everything else, and this focuses mostly on someone who uses their quick thinking, observation, and speed to survive. Also, there's a talent for literally being a survivalist. But mostly this is represented through initiative, which is fueled by strain, the rapid reaction talent, we've seen that before. A little grit to help fuel that, increase your strain threshold, and also a bit of help with your defense. So you're good at being prepared for fights as a whole, as well as dealing with avoiding individual attacks. Also, we got a couple more talents that deal with removing setback die. That's what the survival one did. Ones we've seen before quite a few times. In fact, this is giving me flashbacks to the Edge of the Empire's technician... Outlaw Tech. Sort of that street rat scavenger kind of a character. I'm getting vibes. We, of course, have Utini because, well, that helps you scavenge, and he's a scavenger. I can't wait for later talent trees that have Utini, and also a never-before-seen improved and supreme version of Utini that this one won't get, because why would the scavenger get the extra scavenger stuff to make him feel more like a scavenger, which is their name? Bodyguard! Sorry, I was referencing the bodyguard tree and how I'm never going to let that go. Some more old faithful techie stuff, Tinkerer and Jury-Rigged. Basically, they give you buffs to items that you like in different ways. You don't really do anything, you just say, I have this improvement, or I have this buff, or whatever. So thematically, it brings to life tinkering with your stuff to make your stuff better, but you're not actually tinkering with your stuff to make your stuff better. However, we do have talents which allow you to tinker with your stuff to make your stuff better. Exceed specifications. We have basic, improved, supreme, a brand new thing, and I think it's actually similar to a signature ability that the engineer had, maybe? Anyway, point is, it starts off where you can, when using an item, if you want, make this come into play, and you do better. It just improves your dice pool with the thing, but there's also a risk that it might break. You know, because you're pushing past specifications. Now, I like this good thing and this bad thing, and both of those, they just get better and better in different ways, in a variety of ways, and there's a choice you can add on top of it later on. But the bad stuff in general scales upward kind of along with the good stuff, though not quite to equal measure, but still, it scales up, and you might not even want the supreme version because it comes with a bad thing. So that in itself is an interesting choice with the character. I say go for it just because I like the characterization of someone who kind of thinks on his feet, they're creative, they're kind of risky, mod your stuff, push it to the limits, and maybe something cool will happen. And maybe something bad too, but that is also fun. Let's see, what else do we got? Utility belt, more Outlaw Tech stuff, although we have an improved version. I feel like Outlaw Tech didn't have the improved version. Utility belt is basically, you retcon, oh, I had a thing all along, it wasn't on my character sheet, but I have it. It could be an item, a weapon, there's some limitations, blah, blah, blah. Improved, this can apply to multiple people, which I guess is good if you know there's a thing that you're gonna need. We're all gonna need rebreathers for a plan that involves going through water or smoke or something or whatever. We can clear up encumbrance a little bit, so we're gonna plan for that. We're just gonna use this talent to bring the stuff out magically instead of having to worry about carrying it. Contraption! That's one of my favorite talents from the mechanic specialization, from the engineer or the technician respective core books. That's a great talent because you make a thing. In a way, it's kind of like utility belt, I guess from a more meta sense, from our universe sense, but in universe, instead of you just having a thing because you planned ahead or you were lucky, you actually get to use your skill to make a thing, which to me is more immersive. When I'm playing a techie, I want to play a quick thinking techie who's using his ability to solve problems and And you actually have to roll a check, which is nice. I don't like abilities where you just do a thing most of the time. I want to roll a check. Give me all the excuses to roll all of the piles of all the dices. Another set of talents, one person's trash and another's treasure. They both deal with finding equipment and selling it, which is, as I said before, something a GM has to keep an eye out for, because that's one of those things where it's really easy for a lot of GMs to just sort of ignore those rules. The buying rules and the selling rules, or kind of make up their own, or more streamline it, house rule it to not have to worry about it as much. And whenever you have a talent tree that has talents that allow them to make it better, well, you have to make those talents worth their while, especially if they're kind of in the way. They have to get them along the way. They can't avoid them. One of them you can easily avoid. The other one you can't so easily avoid. So GMs, make sure you're not making these talents useless. And players, freaking players, I cannot stress this enough. I try to stress it every single time. Everyone, whenever you get a new talent, flip to the new talents section, the whole description, and look at the whole description so you know how it actually works. One of these, not only is there an additional thing that you need to know that's just plain not here, it's in here, but also there's another thing where you think it works one way, probably, but in actuality it works a completely different way. And so there's misinterpretation and missing information. Both of them are in one of these talents. Anyway, is that all? Yes, so I actually really love this tree as a techie tree. I love exceed specifications. There's a lot of character there. It could be a lot of fun to play. I want to play someone who's just sort of a balls to the wall, constantly pushing their gear and like, she can handle it. And sometimes she can't, and it's fun when it blows up in your face. Fun character stuff, and mechanics meshing together is great. It's not too long before you get that talent, but a lot of the good talents in general, a big bulk of them are in the bottom tier, tier 5, or they're the non-existent tier 6, meaning you have to go through the bottom row and then up. There's like 4 really good talents like that. But there's also, like, I would say 3 or 4 really good talents that are like tier 2 or 3. So you don't have to wait too long to start feeling like you're doing your role, the character you set out to be. You don't have to wait too long before it finally starts coming together, like some trees. Some of the Guardian trees are really bad for that, if you remember those videos. It doesn't start as quickly as some, but it starts at a pretty good pace, scales at a pretty good pace as well, as far as building up into the person you want them to be. Make a thing, have a thing, buy a thing, sell a thing, improve a thing, which, that can help you for weapons checks. Most of the time, you'll probably use it for weapons, but it could work for any item. Exceed specifications, boost it, get some help there, which is really nice. Ooh, I just realized that lends itself lots of flexibility. Build a thing. If you have the Technician's Sourcebook crafting rules, build a thing for a variety of checks, and now you're just better with that thing, which is... the Artisan had something like that, right? And I wanted a non-force using version of it. They listened to me. Which brings us to builds. It's a universal talent tree, so it's really hard to recommend specific builds because I don't know what you're starting from. I don't know what your career is in those skills, or your other specialization talent tree. This would be your second per the raw rules. So that's a bit harder to do. Obviously, intellect, because this is a mechanical focused character. There's a check that is dependent on mechanics, so that will be important. Maybe, to a lesser extent, cunning. The big cunning skill-related thing makes that particular type of check so much easier that I think it's very easy to get away with a lower cunning, but again, it depends. If you start with the smuggler career of any kind, I'm probably going to recommend a cunning of 3. Because they get like 4 career skills just from their career alone that are cunning-based, and you get couple here. Actually, most of them are cunning based. 3 in cunning wouldn't be bad. I do kind of like a balanced characteristic setup for this. Intellect, cunning, and a damage one of some kind, a combat one, agility or brawn, pick your weapon. Especially because exceed specifications also works really well for that strategy of having multiple pieces of gear, so you might want to have your characteristics spread out a bit more to cover all of the pieces of gear. That could theoretically work with all the different skills that they're attached to. So more well-rounded build, multiple 3s build works pretty well for this, but like I said, there's so many different ways this can go. So many things to just say, nah, and just really hyper-focus on other things depending on where you started. So hard to really say. But in general, those are the 3 characteristics you should probably focus on, and that is it for today. Next time we're going to talk about one of these, whichever I put out. we got like 8 more of these. 8 more talent trees from this book alone. Got my money's worth for this one. Alright, bye.